All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I have Renae Jacobs. Renae Jacobs was my favorite cartoon version of April ONeil. You've had various voice casting as well. So I guess we're going to start it how we always start it. How are you today, Renae?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm crazy world we're living in, but
Yeah, it really is. I
doing
wish we could
fine.
go back to normal. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, the reason I'm doing all of these podcasts is you guys, and by you guys, I mean like people like you, Rob Paulson, Maurice, anybody that I could possibly think of that I heard on a cartoon TV show, movie, way back when, or even now. This is my chance in saying like thank you for what you guys did for me. It was many years, and it's been passed down to my son now that he's watching these cartoons that I watched growing up, and it's always nice. Finally seeing a face with the voice, but even though your face is different than the cartoon that I saw and heard you from 20 plus years ago, so it's always nice, and I thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking.
No problem. So we'll kick it off how we always do. How did you find out about the Turtles? Not just so much the TV show, but how did you find out about the Turtles?
Well, I really found out about it for the audition. I didn't have any knowledge beforehand about it. I had done a lot of voices for little creatures and characters. And my agent called and said they're having a casting call. Go down to the recording studio. It's something called something with turtles.
Yeah.
Okay, turtles. I can do a turtle.
Yeah.
And we get down there, and of course, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which nobody could say for the longest time. And it was just a casting call, like so many calls that we all went on. There was a room before you went into the booth, and everybody who was auditioning was sitting there. We got a sketch of the character, just a black and white sketch, some lines, and a description of who the character was. And needless to say, I wasn't auditioning for a turtle. So so went in, and I knew the director, Stu Rosen, and we worked on it a bit and did a couple of takes, and out the door I went. And that was the end of what I knew about Ninja Turtles until I got the call that I had landed the role.
Now, when you go into a casting or when you go in to try out for a voice and audition, is it usually the standard affair where they'll show you a picture and they'll say, hey, this is what it looks like, or this is what we're going for as far as a voice? Or is that 100% on you guys to come up with the voice from your head when you see a picture?
So they always give a little narrative of whatever it is you're auditioning for. Mm-hmm. In this case, April ONeil was a TV news reporter. It didn't give a lot of her backstory. Mm-hmm. I had a line drawing of her. She wasn't in color, so I didn't know she had red hair. I didn't know it was a yellow jumpsuit. She had a camcorder in one hand, and what I learned was a turtle comm in the other, with a very confident look in mm-hmm. her. And there were some wonderful newscasters, female newscasters that had that we were all watching on our local television stations, and modeled her. I kind of actually modeled her after me. Mm-hmm. And the professionalism of at that time of a journalist. I don't know if that exists anymore, but
I mean, if it bleeds, it leads. It seems with news.
That's
It's ridiculous. I'd much rather something come out 2 hours later than an event happening and all of the facts just hit Vice. Hey man, we saw this happen, and then you find out that they were looking through rose-colored glasses and they saw what they wanted to see, and then you start getting this leading down a road nobody really wants to go to. And
right. April would never have done that. She would have reported the news.
Exactly.
And she would have gotten it right.
Exactly. I mean, I wish there were more April ONeils in the news world, in the journalistic world. Hopefully with as much as hard as it is to get away with lies these days. Hopefully, that integrity starts to come back. Who knows if it will? I hope it does. I mean, I know I
I
quit
don't
watching
know.
news, so.
They talk about a pendulum, and this one's already at 12. So hopefully it'll come back down to 6 and just move, at the bottom there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Did you have kids when you started doing the Turtles?
That's a great question. So and there's a good story. So Ninja Turtles, started as a 5-part miniseries. Mm-hmm. It was to sell toys. And it was Playmates Toys had created these Ninja Turtles. And we did not expect anything after that. So they ran the 5-part miniseries around Christmas time, and we didn't hear anything. I was pregnant, and on April 7th, 1988, I had my daughter, and my agent called to congratulate me on the birth of my first child, my daughter, and that Ninja Turtles had gone to series. So I'll never forget the date. It was very exciting. I mean, that's a twofer, a daughter and a show.
It's a little good luck charm all wrapped up in one,
Yeah.
How old were they when they realized, like, oh shit, mom is April ONeil, or this cartoon that's going around? When did that realization for them come around?
College age.
Really? Man.
Well, because my kids were just too young to really get into Ninja Turtles. I mean, we had a birthday party, a Ninja Turtle birthday party for our daughter. It was so funny. The guy came as Michelangelo, and she shared the party with a little boy who she was in preschool with. And when he got to the house and he found out who I was, he freaked out. He literally freaked out. He couldn't even talk. In fact, he said, okay, everybody sit in a circle until I can think of something to do. And so I'm like, okay. So I went into his bag of tricks and I got out a parachute, and they said, okay, everybody, we're going to do the parachute. Right, Michelangelo? Yeah, we're going to do the parachute. So they knew that they knew about turtles. They weren't really into turtles. My son was more into Pokemon, which came later.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't until college that my daughter really played the April card, because all the guys were, especially those who had older brothers, they freaked out. And she said, my mom's April ONeil. It got her some nice dates.
I mean, it's all about who you know, right? And if your mom is April ONeil, or if your dad is Raphael, because I talked to Rob Paulson and Pat Fraley not too long ago, and I'm sad and I'm glad I did the interview with Rob on the phone, because I am, especially in my older age, I'm only 31, but I've noticed that I've gotten a little bit more sensitive as I've gotten older. Not so much that people say something and hurt my feelings, but when I talk to somebody like you, like Rob, like Pat, and they do just one voice that I grew up with, it transports me back to me being 10, 11, or 12 years old. And then I'm like I said, I'm so glad I was on the phone, because he probably never would have talked to me again. I'm sitting here, I got tears coming down my face. I was so elated. It was just so fun.
That's not unusual. We've been so lucky that Comic-Cons have come around. When we first started out, nobody knew who we were, which in a way was a good thing, because the Turtles were so popular that if we had been live action and not animation, I don't think any of us could have gone out.
Yeah.
I was in the park with my daughter. She was about 2. She was in a stroller. And I looked around, and every kid had on a Ninja Turtle hat, Ninja Turtle t-shirt, Ninja Turtle socks, Ninja Turtle shoes. Really, I would have been mobbed if they knew who I was. So that was kind of good in a way. And now, though, that there's Comic-Cons, we get to meet, you and the kids who now the fathers are and the mothers are showing them our show. They get them on YouTube or they get the DVD set, and they can sit and share a really favorite childhood experience with their own kids. And we have people come up to us, they can hardly speak, shaking. And they hand me a picture. It's okay. I'm just a person. I'm excited you're here. It's okay. They can hardly talk. And it's so sweet. And we really had no idea the effect that the show and we as voiceover actors had on so many people. In fact, we've been told we've saved their lives.
Yeah.
Nobody had a clue that Ninja Turtles would be so profound. And it's just an honor, and we're so lucky, and we're so appreciative of you guys. And it's just as much an honor for me to meet you as it is. I guess it's an honor for you to meet me.
Oh, it's 100%.
Really, we're all in it together. We're all in this COVID stuff together, but we're all in this this world where it was good, and the friendships and the camaraderie and the humor, and all of that just means so much. And I don't know if you see that so much on television these days.
No, I mean, it's always on to the next one. At least that's the way it's like with sports. I'm a huge basketball fan, and very rarely.
Go Lakers!
I'm a Magic guy, unfortunately. Not unfortunately.
Sorry.
I bleed
World champions.
We had 2 chances to get a title. The first one in '95, we lost to the Rockets, and then in 2009, Kobe and the Lakers beat the piss out of us and took any chance of us having a title opportunity away. But it's neither here nor there. But the whole reason I brought that up was you never see too many people where they're sticking it out with their pals. It's always, let's go to another team. Let's build this. Let's build that. And very rarely do you guys see, because I mean, you said it was picked up, or when did you guys shoot? 86, right? I think, or 86 or early.
We started in 86. In 87, we got picked up. No. We started in 87 and 88. 87. Oh, I
know 87 is when it hit in Christmas time. I just don't remember when you guys started shooting.
87 was the initial 5-part miniseries. 88, we went to series, and we worked for 9 years. We did 9 years of recording for that show.
Now, I'm going to ask you this question, and it's not meant to like pick at anybody, but who made you laugh more in that studio? Because I got to assume it's not so much like it is now where you guys can just set up a microphone and then record some stuff at home or somewhere else. When I was talking to Rob and Pat, it was like you guys were all generally in the same room, or you guys were feeding off of each other.
Yes.
Who made you personally laugh more than any other person you worked with during the Turtles?
That's a really difficult question, because what you said is a fact. They played off each other, and one would say something and we'd be on the floor, and then somebody else would chime in, and Pat's hysterical in his, on his little corner of the page. And Rob is really so smart, and well, they all are, I think Rob had more of an ability because he was kind of the zinger guy.
Yeah.
And he really is an expert at that. But there were times they had to stop recording, many times. And they said, okay, guys, come on back to the recording studio. I always describe it as, the adult in the room is the director, and the rest of us are children. And the adult says, okay, you're going to get in this room, and it's going to be a sandbox, and you have to play nice, and you can't throw the sand. Okay. And then she goes behind the glass, and then we'd start throwing sand. There were days when I had to go home and like put ice packs on my face because I was laughing so hard. I think that the beauty of Ninja Turtles was really the heart and soul were the actors. They brought those characters off the page. Until this cast took those characters and made them who they were just two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were, comics, and they were kind of, dark, but they really gave them the personality that really, they made their stamp on these characters. And the brilliance of the ad libs and how they got into the script,
Mm-hmm.
and with the foundation of all the phenomenal comedians from the beginning of movies and television, they brought that into the script. There were so many times they'll, like, every season they would come back and say, okay, this time we're going to do it serious. It's going to be dark. And everybody's looking at each other like, yeah, right. So the first couple of episodes of every season, you might see it a little dark,
Mm-hmm.
but not too long after, we started throwing the sand again.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it to be dark. I think that Kevin and I think they wanted it kind of like the original comic books, that dark kind of thing. There's enough darkness in children's lives.
Yeah.
This was really magic from the actors,
Now,
straight from the heart and soul of the actors.
You guys definitely, it was interesting because my initial introduction to the Turtles wasn't the cartoon, it wasn't the comic, it was me at 5 years old, and then I had 2 VHSs that I burnt out completely, and it was that first Ninja Turtle movie from the 90s, and I burnt that VHS out 3 times. And the other one, and I brought the story up a couple times, so guys, if you're listening, I hope you're listening, don't be mad, right? So the other one was Dumb and Dumber with Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. That was the movie my mom would never buy again. I asked for it, and she was so tired of hearing the most annoying sound in the world, and she never bought it for me again. But that was my initial introduction into the universe, right? So
because you're 30, you're 31.
Yeah.
So you're a little, you're in that a little young for the original show when it was playing. You were a little young for that.
Just a little bit, but every party I had some pictures around here somewhere. I meant to bring them out. I like to show you guys that worked on the show, but I was decked out, shirt, shorts. I had a little Ninja Turtle hat. I had Ninja Turtles in each hand. I was just going through the house playing with them. But it's crazy. You said that, we really put a stamp. We really put the emphasis. We really started the ball where Kevin and Peter started. You guys took it, and sports analogy, whatever, they threw a Hail Mary. You guys caught it and just ran with it the entire way. And it was interesting seeing you guys' spin vice the 90s spin when they did that live action movie. Were any of you guys approached to, make a cameo, or you see it today's world where they'll bring in somebody from the 90s to put them on 2012 like you guys did? A lot of you guys did. Did they ever approach you guys at all?
No, they didn't. They didn't. I don't know why. I have to say I enjoyed the movies, but I couldn't tell one turtle from another in terms of the voices. They all sounded like a Michelangelo to me. They all had kind of a party dude kind of thing. So other than the bandana, it was pretty, and the weapons, it was pretty hard for me to, if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't know who was talking, which character was talking. Michael Bay did a beautiful job, and every iteration only makes the franchise stronger and brings it up again and makes people excited. And there's something for everyone. Not everybody loves our first show. Some people prefer the Nickelodeon. Some people prefer the movies. Whatever it is, I don't care. Just love turtles. That's all.
I mean, that sounds like we should. Now, hopefully this thing hits real big and I can start making t-shirts, because the first one I want to make is just love turtles. And then you got all 4 of the guys just sitting there hanging around. That's a fantastic t-shirt. You brought up weapons, and when you said it was playing, you guys had to play nice. You guys couldn't throw the sand. I'd like to think somebody brought in nunchucks at least once, and somebody was doing nunchucks. Did any of that ever happen? Anything crazy like that?
Sorry.
No.
No. Nobody did. They would have hurt themselves.
I mean, that is some behind the scenes stuff you want to see, is just Rob or Pat throwing around nunchucks or somebody popping out there on a bow staff.
The weapons that they threw around were the verbal weapons, the zingers.
Yeah. Who do you think got the better of everybody more? Was it Rob still because he was just so quick-witted and quick on his feet, or, no,
really, some people ask me, who was your favorite turtle? Mm-hmm. And I could never answer that question because I love each of those characters, and I love each of those men. They all bring such different ways of looking at things. Barry's more serious. It was interesting that he played Donatello. Rob, Cam, and Townie are quick-witted and just generous and kind, and asking me questions of who is better or who is this or who is that. You're never going to get a straight answer from me, because the truth is they all are multifaceted, multi-talented, gracious, generous. I couldn't say one's more talented than the next. Yeah. Some had more opportunities than others in doing other characters. They can all do it all. Yeah. They are quite brilliant.
I mean, that they are. You guys did something that nobody thought would work, right? When you think of, your agent couldn't even, it was Turtles, right? And now Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are just as recognizable as Batman, Coca-Cola, yep, Michael Jordan. Insert any crazy big name. They're a pop culture and just a world phenomenon. Yeah. Obviously nobody thought it was going to get this big. Do you think it still has room to grow and get even bigger, or do you think it's pretty much as big as it could possibly get?
Well, there's always new technology, so it can look different. But if the creators of whoever's taking on the next iteration truly understand the magic of Ninja Turtles, it will go on forever. And the magic's the secret sauce. It's the relationships, it's the camaraderie, it's the friendship, it's the loyalty, it's the honor. It's the life lessons. And today we need them more than ever. Kindness, there for somebody, sacrifice yourself for somebody else's welfare. Accepting people for what they are, who they are. I think that these characters will always be a bedrock for good and for virtue and for honor if they use those characters in that way. You can always, there's plenty of characters that can be evil and do all kinds of other things, but the turtles have something really magical and special. And you learn that when people come up to you and say, like I said, if not for Ninja Turtles, I don't know if I'd be here. I was bullied as a child. I was shy. There's so many things that they'll say, and they say the turtles got me through. So there's something magic about that combination of personalities, and that they're turtles and then they're mutants. We're all strange, okay? We're all, and everybody thinks, oh, I'm the weird one, No, we're all weird. We're all insecure. And you always think you might look at Rob Paulson and say, oh my God, he's got it all. No, read his book, Voice Lessons. It's amazing.
Fantastic book.
I was weeping through the whole thing, and I was thinking, oh my God, you felt that way? The great Rob Paulson felt that way? Yeah. We're all just humans trying to get along, and I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but this is a really special franchise, and yes, I think it'll go on and on as long as they use it properly and keep that core. Kids need it. People need it. They need superheroes that are like that.
I for sure need more money, or not more money. I for sure need more turtles to spend my money on, right? So I want this to keep going for as long as possible. hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this episode, because I told everybody I want to spend more money on turtles. She'd probably come in and slap me a couple times, but
I think I love your wife. That she married you and you're a turtle guy and you collect, I mean, she's good. You're lucky.
Well, it was cool because before any of this, before the turtles really, I was super afraid of needles, right? And the first tattoo I ever wanted to get was a turtle. Sadly, it wasn't the first tattoo I got. I got the Iron Giant, which was another one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I love that show.
It is one of, I think in my opinion, it is the best animated movie of all time. That's just me.
Oh, I might differ with you.
Okay, what's yours?
Up.
Oh man, but here's where I disagree just a little bit. I would put that in the CGI category versus the traditional two-dimensional flat old school animation.
I'm talking about the story.
It is a beautiful story, and that was probably the first movie where I started to notice, man, age really is brought down temper, and it's really brought up sensitivity. And I'm like, that scene where it's him going through, and then they start out as a young couple, and
yes,
get to it, and they start getting older and older and older, and then you start seeing not only the leaves change, but their hair change, their body change, they start to slump. And then you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, how is this movie getting me this? And this is the first 3 minutes of this movie.
Yes.
That's another movie that is so fantastically done. And I don't want to say it's underrated because I know a lot of people talk about it, but it's one of those movies, boys and girls, if you've not seen Up, please go watch this movie. It'll make you cry at least twice.
And Iron Giant too.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie, beautifully animated. Story is magnificent. Made me cry. Wonderful movie.
I mean, when he pulls it off and he said Superman, and then he was going up to save them from the missile strike, I'm like, oh man, how is an animated robot hitting me in the feelings this hard? It was just, when it's done right, it is, well, you can tell. When it's done horribly, you can always tell, but when it's done right, there's something about that magic you guys were talking about when you guys are connecting in that studio, in that room. It's done perfectly. One guy I do want to talk about and bring up is somebody's not here anymore, and it's so sad because he was such a huge part, not just because of what he did as Shredder and James Avery, what he did in one of my favorite shows of all time, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as Uncle Phil. You got any stories about your interactions with James Avery?
Oh, sure. So I'm 4'10", and James was about 12 feet tall, and as big, sideways, big guy. And there's a fly in here. Great. Flies are making appearances these days. Fabulous. So James was the kindest, sweetest guy. And whenever I would come into the studio, he would pick me up, and I'd be like 5 feet off the ground, and my little feet would go like this. And he'd just give me this big bear hug and a laugh, like all outdoors. Another funny thing about James is he never wore shoes.
Really?
Really. He came in barefoot.
Barefoot, huh?
Barefoot. Obviously, he had to put shoes on when he became Uncle Phil.
Yeah.
But in our studio, he was barefoot. And he was fun and just so talented and so kind. And I didn't know when we were working with him really who he was. James was a classically trained actor, Shakespearean. He was also very involved in the civil rights movement, and just I understand from Will Smith, and a big-hearted, kind, very grounded, upstanding kind of guy, solid guy.
Yeah.
And it was a shame that he had to leave, because he was great as Shredder. But boy, did he go on and not just become a big star, but did a lot of good in the world, not just for himself, but for many others. And we did a documentary a number of years ago, and James was on that documentary. And so that was the last time we all saw him. And again, kind, sweet, jovial, just a doll, down to earth. By that time, he was a big star. enjoyed being with, and it was great, just great.
Yeah, he sidebar for just a second. They had an episode. I don't know if you ever watched too much of The Fresh Prince, but it was the episode where Will's dad was coming back into the picture. And me growing up, my dad wasn't around. My mom worked 2 jobs most of our lives when we were younger, because there was 5 of us, generally anywhere from 4 to 5 of us in the house, depending on what year it was and how old my brothers and sisters were. So when you see or hear somebody, because I heard him on Shredder, but at that young of an age, I'm like, that sounds like Uncle Phil, but it doesn't sound like Uncle Phil, if that makes any sense. And then you see him go through these ups and downs, not only of a character or a person, but just in his acting, these ups and downs where he could play the comedic, lovable goof, right? And then he can hard-nosed judge, and then he is the father figure that every man, at least in my eyes, like I always strive, like, what would Uncle Phil do? What would he say? And it's one of those guys. It's like, there's so many people here that don't deserve to be on this planet. They weren't meant for this planet. They weren't a kind person. They weren't a good person. And I don't mean that to be, dismissive or an asshole, really, but there's so many good people gone way, way too early. And, him just seeing some of the life lessons, I guess, he would put out there. And some of those things that I could hold on to, it was always fantastic. And I always like asking you guys about some of the guys that sadly aren't here anymore. But thank you for sharing. I never would have guessed him not wearing shoes. That's
never wore shoes, and those feet needed a pedicure.
How sick and tired did you guys get of pizza? Did you guys eat pizza a lot in the studio or no?
No, they never fed us. I think they brought us vegetables and dip. I don't know. They're very cheap.
I would think you'd want to keep the guys that are eating pizza on TV. I don't know about you, but every time I see the Ninja Turtles, the first thing I think of is like, why didn't I order pizza now, right? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I think ahead? I just put this movie on. I really want pizza. And you would think like at least pizza bites or pizza bagels, or somebody would order pizza, but that's a no-go?
I think once in a while they brought in pizza, but it was amazing. They were making a whole lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot of money, and they really didn't treat us very nicely. I mean, honestly, okay, I mean, there were times like, I'm sure maybe you know this story. Rob was asked by the production company to go to Las Vegas and represent the Turtles and meet kids and sign autographs. And day came and he was going to go, but they scheduled a recording schedule on that day. And he said, hey guys, you asked me to go to Las Vegas. I can't make it. And they told him, if you don't cancel your trip to Vegas and do the recording, maybe we don't need you at all.
Wow. I've never heard that story. No.
Yeah. Ask Rob. And he felt very obligated to go. There were people waiting for him. It had been advertised, for him to cancel. And here it was the production company asking for him to go. And he went, and there's episodes where Rob was replaced. And, there was no reason for it. I think it had to do with money. Yeah. They didn't want to record separately. Now everybody records separately, but they didn't want to spend more time in the studio and pick it up. Yeah. And there was no reason for that. I don't know why they did that.
Well, I mean, I don't understand. Rob aside, I wouldn't treat any of the guys that are, you never want to cook the guy cook the goose that's laying the golden egg type of thing.
They didn't feel that way about us. They said we were replaceable. In fact, I was told in no uncertain terms that if I couldn't make a recording session, I could be replaced. So I told my agent, this is a sure thing. This is a good gig. They just told me I can be easily replaced. So please don't send me out on anything that's going to interfere with recording Turtles. So at the end of the 9 years, yes, I was April ONeil, but my career suffered because I couldn't go out and and do those other things because I was concerned that they would replace me.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what happened.
Shame on you guys, first off. Second off, was there anything when I think of like dream roles, at least for me, like my voice is annoying. So voice acting is completely out of the ballpark for me. But like if I were to think when I was a little kid, man, I would love to play one of the turtles. I would love to play Batman. I would love to play insert favorite character here, right? What were some of those characters that you really wanted to play that you might have not, you got passed over for, or you couldn't do it because of your turtle schedule? Was there anybody in particular that you really wanted to play?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, it was a while ago. I would have loved to have done Disney. I
Yeah.
would have loved to have done any Disney. I would have loved to have. There were a lot of shows going on, but I didn't even audition for them because I was afraid that if I got it, and then the recording was at the same time, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
So no, it's more for me. It's more about I'm a real theater person,
Mhm.
so roles I would have loved to have played on stage, things like that, are things that I really think about. Oh, gee, I really would have loved to have done that, or I'm so glad I got to do
Yeah.
Liza in My Fair Lady, or Molly Brown, or things like that. But I'm a very forward thinking person. So I don't really look back and say, I wish I would have, or, I missed out on this or that. It's okay. It,
I
what's
like
supposed to happen happens.
I like that way of you thinking like that, because me, I'm the complete opposite. I'm holding the piece of paper that, oh, this guy said that this, or this guy said this, that, there. I'm gonna hold that piece of paper so I can show it to them when I've done what they said I couldn't do, and I do it, and I'm like, I told you this is gonna happen.
Well, that's another story. Somebody tells me you can't do something, that's the first thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to not doing April ONeil.
You brought up Disney just a second ago. What's your favorite? Now, I always break them down. So we'll go classic Disney movies. So like, let's say up into Aladdin or Lion King as classic Disney. What would you say is your favorite?
So many. So I started my career with Disney movies, not my professional career, but learning how to do voices.
Yeah.
There are, in fact, I still have them. I found all the recordings that I have. They used to do LPs. A lot of people are into LPs again.
Yeah.
Of the movies. And so I had an entire collection of all of the Disney movies, from Snow White and Pinocchio and Sleeping Beauty and all the way through. I had a collection of all the Alvin and the Chipmunk albums, fairy tale, all kinds of children's albums. And I mimicked them. I used to line up my stuffed animals on the couch in the basement, and then I'd turn on the record, and after a while, I'd turn off the record and do all the voices. So my mom found me in the basement once, one day, and thought there were people down there with me, but it was just me. So I kind of got into voiceover by mimicking all of those shows. So what's my favorite animated movie of Disney? Well, certainly Beauty and the Beast is gorgeous. Love that, and the music, and Little Mermaid, and then all the phenomenal old classics. The Snow White's fantastic. Love the voices, love the animation, and the water in Pinocchio. Oh my God, that's a character in and of itself.
Oh yeah.
So every single one, magnificent pieces of art, and inspired me in the voiceover business.
So the one that stuck out for me as far as classic goes, and I actually named my first dog that I ever bought, or we rescued him. So I don't know if it's buying or rescuing, because he was from the Humane Society. He was a pit bull. And I named him Louie after King Louie from Jungle Book.
Jungle Book.
Yeah, it's one of, I don't know what it was about
Jungle Book.
It's that one, and then it's not so much Dumbo as it is the scene where they're giving Dumbo a bath and all the bubbles are going all over the place and they're turning. It's just something about that style or that old school animation that absolutely is, no matter how old I am, no matter whatever I forget, I will never forget the bubbles and that big old orangutan named King Louie.
Oh yeah, amazing! I love them all. I mean, you could just list them, and they're like my childhood.
What did you start mimicking first? Like, what was that first initial inspiration, or that, oh man, I think I could do this? What was that first movie or clip that you started to, reenact?
It was, I think Wizard of Oz has to be the first. And it wasn't, oh, I can do that. I just did it.
Yeah.
I didn't think, oh, this is a career. I was in the basement and I was lonely, you know? So I happen to have a 4.5 octave vocal range. I'm a trained opera singer.
Okay.
And so I could do high little voices and mid range and lower, and I could mimic, I could, copy those voices. Yeah. And just sitting there and listening to them over and over again, and using your imagination and having one character talk to the other. Because I played those records like for hours all day in the summer or after school, I couldn't tell you one was more influential than another. They were all great.
Yeah. Now, have you went back and started listening to yourself, those initial first recordings that you used to do back in the day when you were practicing? Have you listened to it?
Yeah.
What do you think? Honestly, what do you think when you hear yourself from back then? You think, I wish I would have did this differently? Or how do you look at it?
Oh, I thought I did a good job.
Yeah. Just for me, like, I always look at something and I don't know what it is about my brain. All right, so I cook for a living, and I always think of somebody's like, oh, this is the greatest dish I've ever had, or oh man, this was so fantastic. When they tell me that, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm thinking in my head, I appreciate them, but I'm thinking there's 6 or 7 things that could have went on this plate, or could have went into the sauce, or could have went into the stock that would have made it so much better. I like that you like it, but I know I could have done better. And that's just always the way I have always looked at stuff. And I always like seeing what everybody else's process is whenever they see something or hear something that they used to do or that they did a long time ago, and how far they've come and evolved in their career. I always like seeing you guys as either how you break it down or what you think about your original career, or the beginning of your career. Sorry. So, but that's why I like asking that type of question. So we're getting towards the end of the time. I don't want to keep you too much longer. But there is a couple questions that I do like to end with. One of them, especially today, you're starting to see more female-driven movies, more female-led cartoons, and what have you, just across the gamut, right? So we're starting to see that big push now. What was it like being the original female pioneer, especially for me in the animation world? What's it like having these little girls look up to you? What is that feeling like, or what thoughts come to your mind when you see or think about that?
Well, until Ninja Turtles, I had only played little pixies and creatures. So it was really refreshing to play a human being. I had no idea the influence that she had. I mean, I knew that she was different than all of the other characters, but it just didn't hit me until years later when I started doing Comic-Cons, and young women would come up to me and say, you have no idea the influence your character had on me. I was living in a community or in a house where it was very difficult, a community that didn't expect women to do anything out of the ordinary. I joined the military. I got my degree. No one expected me to go to college. It was because of April ONeil. Yeah. I had these older brothers, and they were playing turtles, and I was always April. And it was because of that character that I found the strength and the inspiration to do something other than what was expected. I have a lot of women in the military who come up to me and say, if not for April ONeil, I wouldn't be doing this. And makes me so proud. Yeah. I mean, just so proud. That's amazing to be able to have that kind of influence on young women. Really, really amazing.
Well, I mean, now is the perfect time for movies and cartoons, and it's so nice and it's so refreshing. I've said this in many podcasts so far, but there's always room at the table to eat, man. You just got to make a little bit of room for somebody else to sit at the table. And
that's right.
How you think completely different. We might look at the same Ninja Turtle, right? You might see one thing and I might see something completely else. Mm-hmm. But until we start giving those voices to people like you, to females, to minorities, or people that are I can't think of the word, underrepresented.
Underrepresented.
Yes, yeah. Underrepresented. You start seeing these things like Black Panther, the movie, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever. And then you start seeing things like Jordan Peele and Us and Get Out. And you start seeing all these different perspectives. And now more than ever is the greatest time, barring 87 cartoon TMT, now is the greatest time for movies and cartoons of all different, walks of life, right? So it's so fantastic. And I love hearing stories about how you played this character, right? And I don't mean to diminish you at all. It's not what I mean. But you played a character on TV. And somehow a little girl saw that and thought, holy shit, I can do anything because April ONeil is down here kicking ass with these 4 turtles. There's this dude dressed in purple with cheese graters for hands. And then they win every single time, man. I can imagine the adulation that you feel. But I can only hope that somebody seeing this cartoon, it continues, it progresses, it gets better, it gets easier, and we start seeing those more voices, and we start hearing from different people. At the end of the day, when everything's said and done, you've taken your mic and you've pushed it up for the last time. When you hear the words April ONeil, Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what's the first thought that goes through your mind?
Inspirational, life-changing for me, for our guys that were in the cast, but more importantly for the people who discovered us and loved us and found the strength to go on when life was really difficult. And that, I think, is the most amazing thing. I cannot tell you that any other character that I played had that kind of effect on the world. On people. Mm-hmm. And how lucky am I?
Yeah. Well, lucky. I mean, you think you're lucky, but we are the lucky ones. You guys really are doing the Lord's work with this cartoon. Excuse me. You guys did, and it inspired not an entire generation, an entire population of people. This is a franchise that, in my opinion, will never die. It'll never go away. Turtles for life. Is there anything that you would like to say? Are you promoting anything? You got a book, you got a new TV show, anything you can talk about, or where can people find you to find out more about Renae?
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Well, you can look at my Facebook page, which is easy, Renae Jacobs. My Instagram is Renae, RENAE_L_Jacobs. Some of the other things I'm very proud of, obviously, are my phenomenal children who are just amazing. And I've been married for over 34 years to an amazing man. We have an amazing partnership. I do believe that education is the most important thing you can give someone. No one can ever take that away from you. And it's only through education, I think, we're going to learn to appreciate each other's differences and celebrate each other's commonalities. So I do a lot of fundraising for the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, which is a world-renowned university in Jerusalem, 25,000 students where Jews, Christians, and Muslims study together in peace. And they are working right now on trying to find the cure for COVID-19 and future viruses, among many, many other things in this world. So, yeah, those are my passions: my family, education, travel.
Yeah.
But I'm a very lucky person. I'm very fortunate, and I appreciate all of the fans. You mean so much to all of us. It's an honor for me to talk with you and just thank you so much for being there for us too. You know, I really appreciate it.
Like I said, this has been a complete honor and a pleasure. I hope to have you back on sometime down the road, sometime in the near.
Absolutely. We hope to be back on Comic-Con tour. We have one in Las Vegas in March, all of us.
Okay.
I'll post about it if it's actually going to happen. We'll see. We'll just have to see.
I want Comic-Cons to come back, and anytime, I always put this offer out there. Anytime any of you guys, not any of you listeners, because there's some weird people out here, but anytime I talk to these guests, if you guys are ever in the Orlando area and you want to have the greatest meal you'll ever have in your life.
We're supposed to be in Orlando with Fanboy.
I really hope it happens, because this year sucked with conventions all being canceled. So much stuff lined up, so much stuff.
Really did.
I can't wait to start getting back out there. But
thank you. Well, are you in Orlando?
Well, I'm in a little place called Deltona that everybody mixes with Daytona. So I'm about 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from Orlando. Orlando's the biggest hub for where I'm at. So it's not too far. But like I said, anytime you guys are in Orlando, you guys want to have the greatest meal you'll ever have in your life, just let me know. I'll make sure I clear my entire schedule, and you guys will eat. You guys will eat better. And not because they didn't feed you in these studios. You guys will eat better than you've ever had at any kind of catering event, any kind of event at all. You guys are always more than welcome.
So kind. Thank you. And we will meet you in Orlando. Okay?
I love it.
It's a deal.
Thank you. Well, this has been the What's in My Head podcast. That is Renae. I'm Julian. We're all out of time. Please come back. Please subscribe. Thank you again, Renae. You guys have a great time. Stay healthy and stay safe out there.
Bye-bye. Oh, how about we do a turtle power?
Turtle power.
Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Turtle power!
Thank you, Renae. I appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thank you. This is April ONeil, Channel 6 News. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
This podcast was presented by the Epic Sewers Podcast Network, the home of all your pop culture podcast needs, with shows like Epic Tales from the Sewer, the Spoiler Force Podcast, CreatorCon Q&A, Comic Watchers, and the What's in My Head podcast. Follow us on this journey and get down and nerdy as we bring you the best in pop culture.